What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, as you see here, former WBA junior middleweight world champion, star boxer, Isreal Madrimov, who suffered the first loss of his career August 3rd when he took on the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world, the King, in Terrence Bud Crawford, who is now a 4-division champion, 2-division undisputed champion, and the reigning WBA junior middleweight world champion, and is going up to super middleweight, 168 pounds, in September to challenge another first ballot Hall of Famer, another top 5 pound-for-pound best fighter in the world, another superstar, and is considered the face and the cash cow of the sport of boxing in Saul Canelo Alvarez, former undisputed super middleweight, and is going for 2-time undisputed super middleweight May 3rd against William Skull. With that said, Canelo Alvarez is 62 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws, 39 big wins by way of knockout. Terrence Crawford is 41 wins, no loss, no draw, 31 big wins by way of knockout. Now, people said that Terrence Crawford's first fight at 154 against Isreal Madrimov himself was a telltale sign that he's simply too small to defeat a Canelo Alvarez. Now, there's a lot of things you have to take into consideration. The measurables, right? Canelo Alvarez is 5'7" with a 70-inch arm reach. Terrence Crawford is 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach. Terrence Crawford is a master class boxer. Yes, Canelo Alvarez is heavier than Terrence Crawford, but he's not bigger than Terrence Crawford, okay? So with that said, Isreal Madrimov is probably as big or bigger. Actually, he's bigger than Canelo Alvarez, okay? And his style is very herky-jerky, it was very unpredictable. It was very, off-keel, right? He was using that style to try to throw Terrence Crawford off. That's what he was doing, okay? And Terrence Crawford had to figure it out. He had to understand how to, get inside on Isreal Madrimov, who was very, movie, right? He was very unpredictable, trying to throw Terrence Crawford's timing off. That was his whole game plan. And Madrimov, 10 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, 7 wins by way of knockout. He's 5'9" with a 70-inch arm reach, right? So his physical intangibles are similar to that of Canelo Alvarez, but he has a lot more movement. Canelo Alvarez is a lot more traditional in the sense where he boxes. He's a boxer puncher. He's not a brawler. Madrimov was hopping in, hopping out, trying to throw Terrence Crawford's timing off, using a lot of movement. Canelo Alvarez is not going to do that. And as you see Madrimov here, he states that Terrence Crawford is the smartest fighter, essentially, in boxing. And he says he has a lot of power, right? He says Terrence Crawford has a lot of power. And that was evident because he hurt Isreal Madrimov to the body a few times, visibly in the later rounds of the fight. And Madrimov stopped jumping in. He was very cautious of just coming in because he understands that Terrence Crawford has a lot of power, get a lot of torque on the end of his punches, and is very crafty on the inside, and has extremely long arms and very athletic, and can switch from southpaw to orthodox. He can give you a lot of different angles, right? And so Madrimov is saying that if this goes the distance, for sure, Terrence Crawford is going to win the decision. He says the Canelo Alvarez way of victory has to be via knockout. Now, everybody said that Terrence Crawford struggled with Madrimov, but if you actually watch the fight, he did not struggle with Isreal Madrimov. Not at all. Okay, it was just a competitive victory for Terrence Crawford. He separated himself, and if you actually pay attention how the fight played out, Madrimov, because of the movement, because of the awkwardness, it made it a hard fight to be able to decipher what's actually taking place. But when you rewatch it, if you watch it in first time, in real time, it looks more competitive than it actually was when you rewatch it. And to give you an understanding of what I'm trying to say is that when you look at Floyd Mayweather's fights with Marcos Maidana, El Chino Maidana. Those were hard-fought competitive fights for Floyd Mayweather. But when he fought Canelo Alvarez and Manny Pacquiao, who were more traditional in their approach and more strategic and more textbook, he picked them apart and it looked even easier. The Maidana fights, the Jose Luis Castillo fights, those are the two fights that people like to point to say Floyd lost when he didn't lose the first two fights, and he rematched both of those guys and then outclassed them, is because of their awkwardness, their angles, the unorthodoxness of their style. And that's what made it more difficult for Floyd Mayweather to make it look like a clean victory, right? It was a competitive victory, but he didn't make it look clean, smooth sailing, right? But when he fought Canelo and Manny Pacquiao and Diego Corrales, though the likes of those fighters, and Shane Mosley, he made it clean because their approach is more textbook. So he can pick them apart cleaner, and you can understand what's taking place cleaner because they're technically. But when you're dealing with somebody who's very unorthodox, who's using angles, who's very wild in their approach, they're not wild. It's planned. It's strategic, right? It's a tactic. But their angles, the unorthodoxness, the movement, right? It makes it hard for you to understand what's actually taking place. So it wasn't that it was that difficult for Terence Crawford against Madrimov. It was the style of Isreal Madrimov. And now you're going to see a completely different type of fight when Canelo Alvarez is in there with Terence Crawford. And Madrimov is saying the same thing, that Terence Crawford has a lot of power that's going to stop you in your tracks. And he's very extremely smart and experienced. And if it goes to the decision, he's going to win. But obviously, if it is a knockout, he's picking Canelo Alvarez. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think about this. Peace.